Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Will Draw Reviews. Today, I'll be analyzing the work of Marc Brunet, who many of you may know as QBrush. He is a former Blizzard concept artist, YouTuber, and most recently, the founder of QBrush.co, an online store that sells art tutorials in 2D and 3D assets. Marc is probably my top 5 favorite artists of all time. Some of the stuff he can pull off is absolutely insane, and he has S-tier skills in a wide variety of disciplines. Today, I'll be looking at some of his character designs that are in more of a manga comic style. I've recently had an interest in this more stylized approach to illustration, as I think it's just more expressive and more fun to draw. Like always, I've left all of Marc's links and stuff in the description, so without further ado, here's the first drawing. Looking at this drawing from afar, you can tell Marc uses a both exaggerated and simplified take on anatomy. For example, the arms are much longer than normal, and his ribcage is extremely large. By adjusting these proportions, Marc is making design decisions that help give this character that humanoid feel. Most importantly, however, Marc is playing with the silhouette, or the overall shape, of his subject to make it read how he wants. People do this all over the industry to get a desired effect. If we look at humanoids in other places of fiction, we find that most of the time they share 90% of human anatomy and have basically the same silhouette, but several features are just exaggerated. Let's look at an example from sci-fi and compare that to how Marc does some of his stuff. Cell from Dragon Ball Z is a pretty alien, weird-looking dude. He's got the tail, wings, and almost like a carapace-like skin. He's pretty freaky looking, but he's more human than you'd think. First, let's remove the wings, tails, and head thing. He looks more human now for sure, but because of all the green he's still reading as pretty alien, pretty insect. Now watch what happens when I make both of these guys gray. His silhouette is now reading almost 100% as a regular human. When you compare it to the original, you can see how by playing with the silhouette in a few ways and exaggerating certain features, or adding features, we can really manipulate the subject however we want. Another important thing to note is where Marc puts his line weight. Marc will typically put darker lines where two shapes overlap, and where areas of shadow can be found. Marc also adjusts the thickness of his lines throughout his drawings. You'll notice anything that contributes to the silhouette is darker, while the more interior line work is lighter. He does this because it helps us read the silhouette, so by thickening up the exterior lines, it's easier for us to differentiate the interior details with the overall shape he's working with. The first drawing was fun, and I think it came out pretty great. I learned a lot about the importance of line weight doing this one, and I just love the shapes Marc picks, and his control over his work is pretty inspiring. These next series of drawings show how Marc uses the silhouette technique flawlessly. As you'll probably recognize, all the characters he has here are built on human silhouette, but he's just pushing and pulling how he exaggerates certain details of that silhouette. The more we push or pull, the more outlandish the design is going to get. Marc will often start by working from silhouette and then adding lines. I'm showing some of his work here. He tries to get a general shape that he likes and then works on top of it and slowly carves away at it. He does a really good job explaining this method in a tutorial on QBrush.co, and he also shows you how to color it and polish it, so I'll leave a link in the description for that particular tutorial. Now back to the drawing. I found this set of characters interesting because of how simple some of the features he uses for them are, yet they still read pretty well. For example, all three of them have basically just black dots for eyes and a small line for a mouth. It's a very simplified approach to these subjects, but that's what makes it cool in my opinion. He's able to simplify these really complex structures into 1 or 2 lines, and it will still read to everyone who looks at these pieces as eyes and a mouth. Marc also shows a good control of gesture here. None of these figures are stiff, and all remain balanced while being in relatively dynamic poses. In terms of finishing this drawing up, Marc painted these a little bit and added some value over the gray fill. I just took a hard round brush and blocked in the shadows first, and then added the highlights while keeping in mind how I handled my edges. My painting skills are not nearly as sharp as my line art skills, so I think this one came out a little bit worse than the first piece. It just shows an area of my art game that I need to work on, so I learned a lot about simplifying shapes while doing these. That's it for today. I really want to thank Marc Brunet and encourage y'all to check out all of his stuff over at QBrush. Thanks for watching the video, and take the time to like and subscribe, and I'll be back next week with another video. See you next time, guys.